Yes, so today I'll be talking about whether you should be selling through Depop or Vinted. I'll go over the pros and cons of both apps so you can find out what's going to be better for you. First of all, I'll start with the pros of selling through Vinted, which are you don't have to pay fees on any of the items, which I think is really nice. Not having to pay fees on a sale for a change is really nice, and as well you even get free shipping because you get a prepaid Hermes shipping label. Obviously you only get free shipping if you are going to go through Hermes and use that free shipping label, but you'd be crazy not to use it. It's free. You can see as well on the Vinted the shipping time for the item that you've just posted. You'll get an estimated shipping time, and as well as soon as the item does arrive, it'll update on the app that the items arrived, which is really nice if you're a buyer or a seller because you get to see the items arrived. It gives you a little bit of peace of mind. And as well with shipping, if you do want a zero contact option, Hermes do offer that with the shipping lockers, which is really nice if you do want that option because you can't do that with like Royal Mail, say. You can leave reviews on Vinted if you're a buyer and a seller, which is really good to have it both ways because if you're a buyer, you obviously get to see what the seller's reputation is going to be like, and as well vice versa. If you're a seller, you get to see what the buyer's reputation is like and see what they're like. On Vinted as well, if you are looking to buy items and then maybe resell them, there's a huge possibility that you could grab a steal on Vinted that you could go on Depop to sell for so much more. Because on Vinted, people just seem to list their items for a lot cheaper. I don't know why. I think it's because when you're on Vinted and when you're listing items, you get a little like average price, and the average price for items is really low. You can grab a quick steal on there that you could easily resell on Depop. And as well, another big pro of Vinted is that it's pretty much scam proof. Because I think if you're going to try and scam someone on Vinted, you've got a very low chance of pulling it off, and you've also got a very low chance of actually getting scammed, just because of the amount of safety features Vinted has in place to prevent any scammers. And as well with Vinted, I've never really used like the customer service. I've never heard anything bad about the customer service, but then I've never really used it myself, so I couldn't really tell you what the customer service is like, but I assume it is okay. A pro with Vinted is it's so easy to list your items up. It'll literally take minutes to go and throw some items on there. Like what I do, I literally just copy and paste my descriptions and everything from Depop and just throw it over in the Vinted descriptions. So if you've got a Depop account, pretty much it's literally going to take you seconds to list on Vinted. Another pro of selling through Vinted is there's like a community feel to it as well. Like there's following and stuff like that. It's kind of like Depop in that sense. I kind of always like the community feel to the apps. It kind of gives it like another element that like eBay and stuff like that don't have. But let's get on to now the cons of selling through Vinted, which on the flip side of there being so many scam proof things, that if you are a seller, you're going to be waiting about 6 days to receive your money from an item you've just sold. It sits in like a pending balance for 6 days, which is so long. I like to get the money just there and then, but obviously if you are a buyer, it is kind of giving you that security and peace of mind that you are not going to lose your money. It's just long if you are a seller, because what happens, the money goes into like a pending balance until the person confirms that the item has been received. Once they've confirmed the item has been received, it then goes into an available balance on Vinted, which after that you can then withdraw it and put it into your bank, but that normally takes about 2 to 3 days for that transaction. So the whole process does take about 6 days. It is so long if you are just wanting the money there and then. I think the reason they do this though is to encourage you to bump your items and spotlight your wardrobe, which are 2 features on the app that Depop doesn't have, but really you can bump your items on Depop for free. To bump your items on Vinted is 95p an item, which in my mind is quite crazy. Per item you're going to be paying 95p. You are bumping the item for 3 days though, which isn't too bad, but you're still having to pay to bump the item. You don't get me wrong, you don't need to do this at all. You don't have to bump your items. Like I've sold 2 things on Vinted. I've only probably got about 10 items on there as well, and they were probably on there for about 2 to 3 weeks without bumping them, and they still got bought, so it's not really essential to do it. But obviously you are going to increase the chances of you selling your item, but are you going to want to be paying 95p an item? Personally, I don't want to do that, but whatever floats your boat, you might like to do that. Another thing to do to kind of like bump your items up that you can do on Vinted is to highlight your wardrobe. That's £7. I'm saying £7 like it's like a huge amount of money, but £7 for what it is quite a lot, and £7 if you're just selling clothes is going to be quite a lot, because that's £7 £7 could be like the profit that you've just made on an item. Don't get me wrong though, that £7 is probably a good investment because you are probably going to make some more sales by doing that. I've never done it, so I couldn't tell you how much it actually really increases your sales, but I don't think it would be that much. Another con with Vinted as well is that the community on Vinted is very small compared to like Depop or eBay or places like that. However, they are kind of growing the community on there, but at the moment we are still in like the early stages of it, so you might struggle a little bit more to sell some items on there, just where the audience for your items is going to be a little bit smaller. And as well, if you don't like shipping through Hermes, you've pretty much got no choice with Vinted. You can still ship through like Royal Mail, places like that, but there's pretty much no point where they are paying for your shipping. But I know some people don't like shipping through Hermes. I don't really like shipping through Hermes, but if it's free, I'm gonna do it. But let's get on to now the pros of selling through Depop. If you want to know what my Depop is, it's up on the screen now, and the link to it will be in the description where this tee is available. It's a 5-figure death punch if you've ever heard of them, like band tour tee with this really cool graphic on the back, and as well obviously the one I've got on the front. But like Vinted, the pro of Depop is that there's like a community to Depop in a way, and as well there is quite a big community. Like the audience for your items is going to be dramatically bigger than it is going to be for Vinted. Depop has really good customer service as well. The reply times that you're going to get from Depop is really good considering they are such a big company. Anytime I've had an issue with buyers, sellers, anything like that, Depop has solved my issues so quickly. A pro with Depop is that there is really good like prevention of getting scammed. Maybe not as good as Vinted, but obviously with Depop you aren't going to be waiting 6 to 7 days to get your money through. But Depop's usually cracking down on like fakes and scammers on Depop, which is really good. Because as I've said before, when I first started using the app, pretty much most sellers were scammers. Pretty much any items like Supreme, any high-end items, majority of them were scams. Just don't leave Depop payments and you aren't going to get scammed. It's as simple as that. Depop only takes a 10% fee as well, which is really good compared to your apps like eBay and stuff like that, which take a dramatically higher fee. But obviously for Vinted, you aren't going to be paying any fees. Let's get on to the cons now selling through Depop. As I said, compared to Vinted, they do charge 10% on sales. And as well, unlike Vinted, you're going to have to pay for shipping as well. So there's a lot more kind of like cost involved in Depop, but there is such a bigger community on Depop. The only con with there being a bigger community on Depop is that you are going to get a lot more like spam messages or just rubbish. Like I get all the time, thank you for following my shop. Oh, like my items. Oh, there's a sale. Like, you know what I mean? Their messages are so annoying. And as well, where there's going to be a lot of people on there are going to be a lot of time wasters. But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of people on the other hand that aren't time wasters and are serious buyers. But what one would I choose? To be honest, I would just choose Depop just because it's got a bigger community. There's a lot more traffic to the site. But don't get me wrong, if you run a Depop account, just throw all your items from your Depop on Vinted. What is there to lose? The only thing with that, be very active on Vinted, because say an item sells on Depop, you don't want it selling on Vinted as well, because you have to refund someone on either app and it's just long having to refund someone. So just stay up to date on your stock for both apps. Say something sells on Vinted, remove it on Depop, and say something sells on Depop, remove it from Vinted. Basic logic really. The only thing that I do really like about Vinted is that there's no fees and that there's no shipping. But then obviously the huge con of that is that you are going to be waiting about a week for your money to come in. But it really depends what you want. But as I said, just list on both platforms. It's easy to do. But if you have watched to this point in the video, you must have somewhat enjoyed it. So please like the video. It does massively help my channel. And subscribe to help me hit 1k by the end of the year. It'd be so appreciated if you could help me. But if you don't subscribe, you're going to be missing out on Depop content, versus videos like this one, unboxing videos, vintage wholesale videos, car boot sale videos, charity shop videos, and just so much more content every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. So that's 3 times a week. You'd be crazy not to subscribe because you'll be missing out on so much content. But if you want to stay up to date what's going on this channel, my Instagram's up on the screen now and I'll link it in the description. I post all the time on what I'm up to, what's coming soon, so you even get a sneak preview of what the next video is gonna be. But as I said, I do really hope you enjoyed this video and it helps you make a decision on what app you're gonna be selling on. But as I said, I will just list on both apps. It's easy enough to do. But please like, subscribe and comment down below any videos you'd like to see in the future.